crypto as collateral. Is Bitcoin to the rescue?
Hi everyone, this is Steve Good. I'll be moderating today with Tim Draper and Alex Mashinsky. Alex is known as a serial entrepreneur. He's also the CEO of Celsius. It's his eighth startup, and he's also famous for the voice over IP that we all use today, including here on Skype. And Tim Draper, 30-year investor, founder of Draper Associates, DFJ, and Draper University, and creator of virtual marketing. So very good to have both of you here. Thank you both for joining.
Viral marketing.
Viral marketing. What did I say? Virtual. Well, we're here today, guys, to talk about Latin America. So, I mean, we could talk about how to make Latin American virtual or viral too. So I've got a couple of questions to put out there for you guys. I think where we can start is, if we think about the Latin American market, what do you both see are some of the current barriers to entry with cryptocurrency in the region, and also the opportunities in terms of for existing businesses and new businesses? So I'll start with you, Tim.
Well, I'll hit the opportunities. If it's interesting because in Latin America, more than almost anywhere else in the world, they have less trust in their government currencies, and crypto, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies are a great alternative for them. Because instead of being tied to political forces that just print money, much the way the U.S. just printed $13 trillion, they now can have a currency that they trust, that there are only 21 million Bitcoin out there. So you can have a currency that is decentralized and open and transparent and not tied to some political force. And you can have faith in that currency. I know that down in Argentina, they look at the peso as a hot potato. It's like, here, take it. No, I don't want to hold the peso for more than a minute, because they know that it drops by 30, 40, 50% a year. And the same thing's true in Venezuela with the Bolivar. So I think in many other countries in Latin America also have problems with their currency. If they adopt, even in parallel, adopt Bitcoin as a national currency, they could actually, those countries could thrive, because they would attract all the brain power and all the entrepreneurs from all other countries around the world, and they could give business great confidence so that people start thinking longer term, and they start building things for a long-term future.
That's fantastic. Alex, what about you? So you're looking at, you're running a business in cryptocurrency as well. Have you got a perspective on this in terms of how businesses can transition from traditional into cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Celsius network, or other ways to expand their business?
Sure. Just before I jump into it, you neglected to say that Tim has been basically the inspiration and a mentor to two generations of entrepreneurs. So if there's anyone who's giving his heart and investing in helping people, give a free advice, whatever you need, Tim is always there to help you out. So I helped bring Voight to South America. I deployed with Embertel in Brazil, and with in every country, in Mexico, everywhere else. And the people that want this innovation, right? I mean, they want cryptocurrencies, they want the latest technology, and this is a great opportunity to leapfrog an older and kind of stagnant financial system that they're stuck with, that their governments or have given them, into something that takes them straight into the 21st century, right? So I think a lot of these like devaluations that we've seen, like Tim was talking about Argentina and so on, they defaulted on their debt several times. They've devalued their currency several times. You woke up in the morning and suddenly the money you thought you had was either locked, like they did in Brazil, they locked it up for 10 years, and the inflation just ate it away, or in Argentina, it was devalued by 50% overnight, right? So what people there want is basically to invest in something that is a great store of value, not a horrible store of value, and can also earn interest like what Celsius is doing. So So the tools are available. I think all of us can do a better job, for example, building content and educational stuff in Portuguese or in Spanish and so on, because most of us are, kind of English is the main language, and we're not really catering to South America. So I think we can all do a better job at that. But the opportunity is really to empower these people to be able to get to financial independence, get to retirement, and live honorable life versus worrying about their financial existence, right? I mean, that's what they're facing every day. And the blockchain, cryptocurrencies can really solve that problem.
So
I also noticed that Alex is wearing a HODL shirt, but now it's hold on for dear life. And it's just the opposite of what people do when they have an Argentinian peso. It's like, get rid of it for dear life, move it, get it out of here. We want to hold something else. And for a while they were holding dollars and they were feeling pretty comfortable about that. But we just printed $13 trillion. And that devalues the dollar by about 25%. And that will create all sorts of, I mean, the U.S. could end up with the same kind of inflationary problems that all these other countries have. So why not start doing your business in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, because you will have a currency that you can trust, you can hold and you can trust. And it's interesting, and people say, well, how can you predict that Bitcoin's going to be at $250,000 in 2022 or 2023? And and it's easy for me because we've done the speculative thing where everybody kind of goes, oh wow, that could be really interesting. And now we're doing the DeFi thing, which Alex is the innovator of. He's the first of the DeFi. I mean, anytime you hear DeFi, think Celsius, because that's what they were first. And
we just called it money over IP, MOIP, and everybody else went with DeFi. It's like,
VoIP.
So here we go again.
All sorts of OIPs, and so he's taking us through that. And then I learned that, first, that women are about 80% of the world's shoppers. They control 80% of the retail. They also are only 1 out of every 15 Bitcoin wallets are owned by a woman. And so what's going to happen is we'll go through this DeFi period, and then we're going to go through this retailing period where people are actually spending it. And they're going to do it because the women will save 2.5% to 4% every time they swipe their credit card or debit card and use Bitcoin instead of using a fiat currency. And that will open up the gates to where the world is really operating in Bitcoin. I'm looking forward to the day where I can raise money in Bitcoin, raise a fund in Bitcoin, invest it all in Bitcoin, have the entrepreneurs pay their employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, and then have it all on smart contracts, so that rather than having to pay a bunch of accountants, I'll have my accounting all done on the blockchain. And rather than paying a lot of lawyers, I'll have my the payments all made on a smart contract. I think that's in our mid future, like 4 or 5 years out, and our world is going to be completely transformed. And that's why I believe that, and as a currency spreads, its value increases. So that's kind of the way it works. And the current value of all the Bitcoin in the world is something like $300 billion. And there are $100 trillion of currency out there. So we have, what is that, a 300 times possibility of increasing?
Plenty of room to increase it. But it's not just the Fed that's printing money. I mean, every central bank in the world is almost like in competition with the Fed to see who can print more faster. So all the, the tide is kind of going down on everybody at the same time. And the beauty of Bitcoin is that it has its own limited supply. and it's not tied to that tide, right? It stays where it is. Like Tim always says, one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. It's just that the number of dollars that you need to buy it keeps increasing because the value of the dollar is coming down. But I wanted to make a point about South America, just that in countries like, again, Brazil, Chile, Argentina, what we're seeing is a lot of international commerce settled in Bitcoin because there is currency control. All these countries that are struggling, they don't have enough dollars because their exports that are dollar denominated are down 50% or whatever. So they don't have enough dollars. So they put restrictions. But if you want to import something from China or Japan or anywhere else, you probably are paying in Bitcoin and you're paying a 5 or 10% premium. And that is still cheaper than going through your bank and doing all the currency control stuff and paying penalties because you're effectively exporting dollars and importing some products. So the international commerce is already taking advantage of this as a base currency. And we're going to see that increasing. And like Tim said, we need to see retail come into the fold. And we, as crypto community, have failed to bring women. 90% men. Like we're all sitting there showing our socks and ties and shirts, and then the women don't want to join us. And we're like, why? So, but check our website, Celsius.network. We redesigned it. It's designed to attract women, to invite women, make it easy for them to save, earn yield, and hodl. So let's see if we break that break that dam, and bring women into crypto.
Let me transition for a second here, because we've been talking about currency, and I think it's kind of a nice segue for us. So with the general volatility that we see in Latin American currencies, how do you both see this affecting either the Bitcoin adoption or stablecoin adoption? And also, how do you guys see this impacting the local countries if we see adoption shifting from their currency to Bitcoin or stablecoin?
Well, I think every government needs to figure out how to tax in Bitcoin. And once they have, then the river will turn the other way. Right now, the river is against Bitcoin because they're saying, wait, we need to regulate this. We need to protect it against it because we tax in Argentinian pesos or in Bolivar or in whatever. Once they realize that they can go ahead and tax in Bitcoin and it's easier and it can go right on a smart contract or and it can be taxed on the blockchain, then governments are going to go, whoa, this is much better. But in the meantime, the businesses are saying we have to operate in Bitcoin. We can't operate in this currency. We don't feel comfortable operating in some currency that is going to decline in value over this period of time. And it's interesting. The trust is an interesting thing. Trust is the most valuable thing. If you go to a country where everybody trusts each other, you show me a country like that, I'll show you a rich country. If you show me a country where nobody trusts anybody, I'll show you a very poor country. And currencies are currently going through something like that. If there's a currency that people trust, that will be a rich country. And if there's a currency people don't trust, that will be a poor country. And so if I'm a country where they don't trust my currency, where people are trying to get rid of it and do business in other currencies, even if I owe the IMF a bunch of money and I have to kind of pay it in weird ways or whatever, and I have to print money to do it, I think I want my people to be thinking of becoming builders. I want them to build things for the long term. And the only way they'll do that is if they have something they trust. And that's where they can build on Bitcoin. They can trust. It's a currency that people can trust. They know that if they get dumped out of office for the other party, still everybody will still be operating on Bitcoin, and they won't have somebody just printing a bunch of money and devaluing the currency, and so that where business people lose trust. You want business people who will focus on the long haul. You want them to feel like I'm building something of great value for me, for my kids, for my grandkids, for my community, for my country, for my world. We want that. We want that feeling. And you don't get that feeling if they're manipulating your currency and every 10 years you completely lose it and you have to start all over. Why would you build anything of value? You got to build things of value. And that value comes from trust. That value comes from long-term thinking, where people plant the tree from the beginning and they grow it knowing that they're going to own that tree when it's a big, great tree, instead of just stealing trees from each other, stealing beans from each other and ending up poorer and more miserable than ever.
They're stealing the sprouts. It's not even trees. I mean, it's like nothing, it's like, so, I mean, look, I agree with everything Tim said. Just to add to that, I think if you think of fiat currencies as dominoes, right? And you start with the small dominoes, which are the weakest fiat currencies, the Turkish lira, the Argentinian peso, the Venezuela currency, right? All those dominoes are falling down. And as they fall down, they cause bigger dominoes to fall down, which are the stronger currencies. And the last three dominoes are the Japanese yen, the euro, and the dollar. And the dollar is really supposed to be the last one that's holding the whole dam from falling down. But the problem is that if you have 100 currencies kind of leaning against the dollar, even the mighty dollar cannot hold all that power back. And especially not when we're printing tens of trillions of dollars, borrowing from the future, reaching out to the future, printing our kids and our grandkids' money, their taxes effectively. We're bringing it to them, we're spending it today because of Corona, because of the financial stuff that's going on, where we basically don't care about deficits and things like that. So all of that is good for Bitcoin. It's horrible for us as Americans or for us as Argentinian citizens, but it's great for Bitcoin because Bitcoin is effectively its own universe. It has nothing to do with this entire ecosystem. And like Celsius, for example, has now close to 200,000 customers from over 170 countries. Like Tim said, they entrusted us with $1.3 billion worth of cryptocurrencies, right? Mostly Bitcoin, Ethereum, but also a lot of other currencies. The third largest currency we have is actually Cell token, our own token. So, fantastic. So when you see people from all over the world basically saying, not that I just don't trust my country, but I'd rather trust somebody in New York that I've seen on YouTube. I'll send him my money. That is, I feel more trust with them than I do with my local government. And that just, it's not that Bitcoin or Celsius is so good. It's that the governments and the banks and the financial institutions are so bad. They're definitely not here to act in your best interest.
What role in 30 seconds do you see will be the most critical role that DeFi plays in Latin America? So we'll start with you, Tim.
Why don't you start with Alex? He's the leader of DeFi. He's the guy.
So Celsius, like Tim said, Tim gave me the credit for it. Celsius was the first project in the world to basically tell you, here is a token, and we will give you this as rewards if you just deposit any digital currency with us, right? And DeFi is just all kind of variation of that. Now you can get comp token and you can get uni token, but the first token that actually did that was a cell token. And we created a new invention, which is that you can earn on one asset with another asset, right? So instead of earning dollars on dollars, you can earn with something that is completely detached again from your universe. So you can still deposit stable coins. For example, you can deposit something like a US dollar or a peso, but you're earning in something that appreciates based on the community size. So cool. So DeFi has this amazing opportunity, again, to transform, to allow people to leave their existing fiat world and go into what I call the MOIP world, or money over IP.
Fantastic, thank you.
And I think I'll finish with a quick story. I met with President Macri of Argentina about 3 years ago, and I told him about Bitcoin, and I got him kind of excited. And then the next time I saw him was 2 years later, about a year ago, and he was still president. And I said, during that time between, last time I told you about Bitcoin and now, Bitcoin's dropped from 10,000 down to 4,000. And he said, uh-huh. And I said, yeah, and the Argentinian peso during that time has dropped from 75 cents down to 25 cents. And he's kind of a little embarrassed. And I said, so I'll tell you what, we'll make a bet that if the Argentinian peso does better than Bitcoin over the next year, I'll double my investment in Argentina. And he goes, okay. And then I said, and if Bitcoin does better, you make Bitcoin a national currency. So Bitcoin's going from 4,000 to what, about 12,000 now during that time. And the Argentinian peso has gone from 25 cents down to less than 1 cent during that time.
Wow.
And he did not get reelected. And I think if he had made Bitcoin a national currency, he might have been reelected. He would have built confidence into his future, into the future of Argentina, and he would have made a big impact on his people. But now it's on to some other government, and hopefully they'll take up the bet. We bet on it, but he didn't completely agree. We did end up shaking hands, but it wasn't about the bet.
Well, listen, Tim, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure having you both here today on our panel discussion. Thank you both for attending, and we're moving on to the next session.